Hi, my name is Carl, here to tell you my story about my learning model. Content, activity, and reflection equals learning. So when I was 15, I couldn't wait to drive. I wanted to go out on my own, take my friends places, and go on dates without needing a ride, or a chaperone tagging along. I was intrinsically motivated. On day one of driver's ed, they gave me this big rules of the road book. I didn't care about what was in the book, but I read it and memorized a lot of boring stuff just so I could pass quizzes in the final exam. And I did. I got a 100% on that test, and all of us who passed couldn't wait to get our license. After weeks of reading content and taking tests, we were finally able to get behind the wheel of a car. It was in the moment where I was sitting there with my seatbelt on when I realized I had no idea how to drive. In my first session, I remember my instructor, Mr. Thone, saying,
"Okay, now, slow down. Sheesh, Carl, you got 100 on your test, but that doesn't mean you know how to drive. There's something called a speed limit and a school zone. Do you remember reading about those? Sheesh."
But I forgot most of the content I read. A bit later, I started driving with my parents. They were very smart. They took me to the cemetery where you had to go slow, got practice on winding roads, and given it was a cemetery, you couldn't hurt anybody. I learned how to brake smoothly, control the car, park on a hill. I had the freedom to experiment and figure things out on my own. And whenever I needed help, I was able to ask my parents or check the rules of the road book if they didn't have the answer. Over time, I moved on to grocery store parking lots, busy roads, the expressway, and then the city of Chicago. There were pedestrians, one-way streets, bikes, and tourists, and emergency vehicles. Just a lot to take in. Each time when we got home, my parents would ask me things like,
"How do you think you did today, son?"
So, is there anything you think you might want to try for next time?
I don't know if they knew it, but they were asking me to reflect, to think about my thinking and what I had been doing. After letting me talk, they would say things like,
"I really like how you use those directionals."
Oh, sweetie, you're really getting the hang of this now.
"Next time you're caught in a storm, just follow the white line on the side of the road."
Now remember, honey, the people in back of you don't pay your insurance.
Eventually, with enough practice, I formed expectations and reflected, and I learned to drive. I still drive fast, but I got my driver's license. And driving and figuring things out on my own was the most important piece. That's the A, the activity. The content in that big rules of the road book alone would never prepare me for a hands-on driving experience. Plus, it wasn't information at the point of need. You get it before you know you need it. Only the activity of actually driving prepared me to drive on city streets. And thankfully for everyone in my path, I had great resources in the car like my driving instructor and my parents. And by reflecting on that experience, I built my case base for next time. So that is my car story, Carl, my model for learning. Putting content in service of an activity, a task-based activity that is relevant and well-suited for what you need to be able to do. Then finishing up with time for reflection. Content, activity, and reflection equals learning.